The underworld boss was strolling leisurely with his girlfriend, the relaxation in the evening breeze, yet it could not block the chill of death clinging to the skin. The gunmen of the Marcus drug cartel had already pointed their muzzles at this bottleneck. Tommy and Diamond's underworld alliance, under the coordination of the Mexican Estella drug cartel, divided the Chicago white powder market equally with the big drug lord Miguel. The two of them and Miguel are all first-level agents of the cartel. The Estella group strictly prohibits internal firefighting, but Tommy has always ignored the shackles of rules, and will not stop until also let Victor go to meet his sister Jaricia in prison. Tommy had sent people to assassinate Jaricia last season, but she luckily survived. Jaricia masters several of the largest clubs in Chicago. This is an extremely valuable white powder sales channel. Tommy ordered Jaricia to hand over the pill sales rights for his own white powder sales. Otherwise he would surely let her lose her life in prison. Jaricia was forced by helplessness and temporarily compromised, but in fact, she is already a partner of the Marcus group, secretly planning to get rid of Tommy. After Victor left, Jaricia immediately requested to meet the prosecutor. This person has been dedicated to bringing Tommy to justice. Jaricia wanted to use the evidence of Tommy's crimes in her hands as a bargaining chip to exchange for security protection in prison and cooperate with the prosecution to bring down Tommy. The prosecutor has been in a good mood lately. Last season he originally wanted to surround and suppress Tommy, but was instead used by him, becoming a pawn for Tommy to eradicate Ortega, the Serbian group leader Markovic, and the Flynn families. Jaricia. But unexpectedly, this battle record made him highly regarded by the Department of Justice. As long as these major cases are sat firm, especially the Ortega case, who was in the prosecutor questioned why Victor's internal identity was exposed yet he was not executed by Tommy. Victor, according to Tommy's authorization, lied, claiming Tommy perceived that the alliance member Shanti was the police internal line. Shanti originally prosecutor that Tommy was about to assassinate Ortega in prison. Ortega cannot die. If he dies, the prosecutor's performance will be finished. So he immediately ordered Ortega into solitary confinement, cutting off the path for Tommy to start. Little did they know, this was exactly the trap Tommy deliberately set. Jenned was late in locking down the Marcus group's stronghold in Chicago, and after being urged by Diamond, he became increasingly dissatisfied. The gang was originally founded by Diamond with one hand, but now he has to obey Tommy, this outside door. When Tommy returned downstairs to his home, he was blocked and confronted by Miguel. Miguel angrily rebuked him for burning the warehouse. Tommy of course flatly denied it. Miguel did not dare to painfully kill him, first, fearing the Estella group's order forbidding internal strife, and second, learning that Tommy and his own sister Maria are in love. Maria used death to force him to keep Tommy safe. As Miguel's only relative, his life is Tommy's temporary protective charm. Therefore, last time Tommy thought Maria was imprisoned by Miguel and went alone to the meeting in anger, hindered by his sister's death threat. Miguel did not dare to move against Tommy. But Miguel did not give up the plan to eradicate Tommy. He must not let Tommy's death be linked to his own head. He spoke to warn Tommy that the group ban and his sister are definitely not permanent death exemption gold medals, but Tommy was completely dismissive of such threats. At the same time, a semi-underground casino in Chinatown was suddenly raided by masked robbers. After succeeding, they quickly withdrew from the scene. On the other side, Jaricia summoned her partner Ellis. The pill-selling clubs she controlled were all assets under this rich second-generation's name. The previously cooperating Serbian group and Marcus group had fallen one after another. Jaricia could only let Ellis temporarily compromise, allowing Tommy's white powder to enter the club channels. At the same time, she revealed that the Marcus group had deployed an assassination plan to get rid of Tommy and the traitor Shanti that night. At this time, Tommy was discussing supply matters with Shanti. Jaricia's club channels were already taken into his pocket. Shanti herself was very familiar with the clubs when she was undercover. Tommy ordered her to be responsible for the supply. The two keenly perceived the abnormality. The Marcus group hitmen had followed behind, wanting to wipe them both out in one go. Tommy has long been known as the hardest to hunt lone wolf in the underworld, battle-hardened, indecisive. Shanti is also a boxer with extraordinary skills. Plus, occupying the home field terrain advantage, the two quickly counter-killed, wiping out the group of hitmen completely. Victor reported back to Tommy that Ortega had been separately detained and the defense was empty. Tommy, however, suspended the action. From his conversation with Victor, he unexpectedly learned that his archenemy the prosecutor is preparing to run for mayor. This is a more valuable bargaining chip. Immediately, Diamond brought news. The Albanian mob, Miguel's core bid customer, requested a meeting. The ones who robbed the Chinatown casino were exactly Tommy's nephew Marshall and his good friend Xiao He. Marshall previously killed the nephew of the AD gang leader King Kilo. Diamond ordered him to stay behind closed doors to avoid when Hills is completely different. Ellis was hard to control the scene. Shanti ignored his opposition and forcibly took over the club's security power. Ellis's first time operating the white powder sale went wrong on the first day. A girl under him privately raised the price and embezzled the premium. Facing the questioning, the other party refused to admit it. Ellis was helpless. Shanti arrived upon hearing the news, had to sacrifice the flag, deterring the interior of the Underworld Alliance and stabilizing his own ruling authority. Janet and Shanti were originally a couple. Both were ambitious and conspired to get rid of Tommy and Diamond to usurp control of the Underworld Alliance. But the prerequisite is that they must connect with the Estella Group's Chicago general supplier to get source of goods recognition. Otherwise, even if they seize power, they will be removed by the group. And Tommy and Diamond monopolized the connection channel with the big boss. Janet simply had no way to contact them. The two could only submit and wait for an opportunity. Tommy instructed Victor to approach the prosecutor's campaign through to master the details in the prosecutor's election in real time, then see if he could funnel campaign funds to build the prosecutor into a puppet politician controlled by himself. At the same time, Miguel's hatred reached the peak. He hired an independent hitman with no gang dependence, wanting to use his hand to get rid of Tommy, to avoid group punishment and his sister's accountability. Tommy carried the head of the Marcus Group member and visited the territory of the West Side's largest gang, the DSD gang. This move was too brutal, causing panic among some Alliance members, worrying that an all-out war with the Marcus Group would bring a catastrophe of destruction. It was the native Janet who came forward to appease, only then temporarily calming the internal turmoil. At this time, Tommy already sensed Janet's extreme dissatisfaction with him, fearing it would brew into trouble in the future. Tommy underestimated the Marcus Group's desire for crazy revenge. Ortega issued orders remotely in prison. After the assassination of Tommy failed, he turned the aim toward Alliance members. After a burst of intensive strafing, the DSD gang leader was shot dead on the spot. The next morning, Diamond arrived at the barbershop and actually found the DSD gang leader's corpse cut in half at the waist and abandoned at the door. This was the Marcus Group's naked death declaration of war. Tommy was urgently summoned to the scene. Diamond was anxious, but Tommy remained calm. This leader was originally rebellious, just support his deputy to come up to the position. There was no need for excessive panic. Victor successfully took down the campaign manager. The two quickly developed into a couple relationship. He followed Tommy's instructions to secretly investigate the prosecutor's campaign funding gap and preparation progress. Tommy learned that there was a loophole in the prosecutor's capital chain and immediately ordered Victor to support with black money. Once he successfully becomes mayor, he will completely fall into being Tommy's underworld puppet. Diamond and Janet were still planning to get rid of Marshall. The two set a dead end, fooling Marshall into robbing the 97 gang. This gang colludes with black police and sits on double protection. Marshall's trip is a certain death. Janet found Marshall and said the 97 gang and the Chicago brothers have a grudge, but it's not convenient to show up, so he needs Marshall to go solve this matter for everyone. Marshall did not know it was a trick and was lured by the promise that he could return to the gang after completing the task. Plus Janet kept promoting his ability, which made Marshall a bit floating, and he happily took the heroic risk. At this time, the deputy of the DSD gang had arrived. Tommy and Diamond promised to support him to sit in the boss position and gave a large sum of money for him to take back to appease the former boss's family. This Marcus Group attack incident instead pulled the DSD gang's hatred value to the peak. In prison, the Serbian group leader Markovic was secretly executed by the Marcus Group in prison because of the tragic defeat of the transaction last season and the loss of all territory and utility value. At this point, Tommy welcomes the ultimate duel. Only by first overturning the Marcus Group and completely clearing Miguel's power can he sit firmly on the absolute king's throne of the Chicago Underworld Alliance. This challenge is also the most dangerous dead end in his career. As the opening of the final season of Tommy's independent chapter in the Power Universe, this season tightly fastens to lone wolf survival, the fragility of interest alliances, the tearing of kinship and ambition, and the ultimate collision between outsiders and local forces. With hardcore gang narrative, three-dimensional character arcs, and extreme dramatic conflict, it lays down the cold tone of either life or death. No break, no build.